Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We are going to be starting a new theme today, and that theme is featuring a bagpipe. And I know some of you are like, no! But I mean, honestly, the bagpipe's a pretty cool instrument. I think it gets a bad rap sometimes. We're going to be kicking off this theme with Neurosis, interestingly. I went back and listened to some of the tracks we checked out 2 years ago. Yeah, it's been some time since we've had them on the channel. And I kind of got like a heavy atmospheric vibe from the two tracks that we've listened to. So I guess that's what I should be expecting here, but with bagpipes this time. Let's check out Neurosis's Purify. What tempo is this? I can't help from rushing in the conducting of it. Depending on where you read the quarter note at, 35. So those are triplets against the 35 quarter note. Oh no, we actually shifted to 3, didn't we? So this is 70, which is double what the intro was. Those slides make it super gnarly, especially on the initial impact of the note. So much destruction as well in the production of this. There's just compressed crackle. It almost feels in the essence of the song. It's not even for an individual instrument. The crackle just exists everywhere. We got the guitar over here just... Oh, we actually have a second vocal on the left as well. The bass just holding down the center right here. So much of the riffage so far has been textural. Like these slides right here. Pitch doesn't really matter. The slide is what's important. Oh, we have a call and response I almost completely missed. They're like hyper compressed harshes. Jeez, that tension. It almost sounds like they got like steam releasing as well. The drum variation pulling in the toms. So we have just the toms now in the drums, and interestingly, because of the reverb on this, it almost feels metallic. Sound like we had some hand drums coming in. Yeah, just man, where do I start with this? We have a 12-minute song that only goes through 5 sections. We have our extended intro. Then we are introduced, I believe, to our verse riff, although we get it for about a minute before the vocals come in. We get our verse riff, we get our chorus riff, so we have 3 so far. And then I remember the noisy riff where they would hang on to a consonant tone and then hit just something super dissonant and then back down to the consonant tone and something super dissonant. And then we had the bagpipes fade in over top this and it faded out and we had a bagpipe outro. 5 sections. Averaging 2 minutes apiece, however, our intro was at least 3, maybe 3.5. And then our verse and chorus, we got 2 of each of those. I feel like it's sort of front heavy. It takes a long time for us to get to the bridge and outro. So much of this song is based on texture. There really aren't any riffs, right? None that are. I'll put that in quotations because, of course, there's repeated guitar ideas. Those are riffs, but there's no like meaty riffs, ones that you would find memorable. There's no melody going on in here. It's all based on texture and atmosphere. When we start off, we just have these long held out notes. 3 of them, actually, to be precise. I felt this as a downbeat of 1, downbeat of 3, and then a downbeat of 1 that went for the entire bar before we came back in on 1 again. However, given that the rest of the song was in 3, and eventually this idea got shifted to a faster 3, I think I would probably change that reading from 4, and I'd probably find where that fits in a 3/4 idea. Especially since after that, our tempo doubles to about 70 or 71 BPMs, and at that point, I had registered it as 35, in 4. It would be a faster 3 though. So it's probably accurate that they were just longer notes in a 70-ish BPM 3/4. Yeah, we started with just notes suspended in. Actually, I mean, technically, we could even go before that and just talk about the industrial ambiance at the beginning, just crackling and hissing and just, I don't know, sounds. Then the guitars come in, and then we speed up the guitars. We bring the drums in, we bring the bass in, and then we get to our first main riff, the verse. And this had a bit of a call and response aspect to it. Oh no, it wasn't call and response. It was taking breaks. That's what it was, because the bass was center, just laying down this filthy bass line. And then we had two guitars out on the outside, very textural, more about the sounds they were crafting, the destruction of their tone, the compression, the distortion, all that stuff. Not so much about the notes themselves. And we would have like two hits of these guitars with the vocals, and then two hits of just the bass and the drum, nothing else. So we had this idea of expansion and suppression, and expansion and suppression. And then this gave way to the chorus, which was similarly crafted, except our guitars changed their ideas, in which our right guitar shifted to playing a lead-in tone to a downbeat, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, bottom, 2, 3, 4, or something along those lines. But you would have a lead hit into the downbeat of 1. So I don't remember if it was on 4 or on the end of 4. But it would lead into the downbeat. We'd have two hits. And while that was going on, that happened every other bar, the left guitar was just slides. Slide up the neck, slide down the neck, slide up the neck, slide down the neck. Again, purely texture, purely ambience, just really going for a very specific sound, more so than choosing specific notes. In both of these situations, the vocals have a really harsh vocal style. I don't know. I don't know if it's a fry. Could have been a growl. There's a lot of distortion and destruction on the vocal idea as well. And we'll talk about that in a second, about just the overall production of this. Then we get to the bridge, which, again, same idea. It's all about ambience and texture. I'm going to be saying this a lot. We get that consonant lower tone, everyone's a bit quieter, and we get that really punchier, dissonant, higher tone. And I think there's actually multiple pitches being used here to create a ton of dissonance alongside the distortion. It's just a really gnarly sound. And like I mentioned, the bagpipes fade in over top this. This idea fades out, and then we get our outro, which just had some really sharp metallic sounds to it. I think, again, it's the production on the instruments. Even though they're bagpipes, they still get recorded, and you can still modify the resulting sound wave that gets recorded. So everything in here is on the simpler side. I can pretty much sum up everything that happens within a sentence, and every idea is presented through the concept of texture and atmosphere. The song overall also has a sluggish nature to it. The drums never take any sort of up-tempo pattern. The BPMs, the tempo never kicks up over 70. 70 isn't slow, but it isn't fast either. And it's just really heavy and weighty. If I had to guess at genre, I'd probably say post-metal, but I might be wrong on that. Also kind of feels doomy from the ideas, because doom is also slower, down tempo atmosphere, but it doesn't have the doom emotion to it. So I don't think it's doom. I think it's post metal. So what I find really interesting about this though is the production of it all. Something I've mentioned many times is destruction of sound, whether it's the guitars, the vocals, the bass, the bagpipes. Everything sounds gritty and gnarlier than it would normally. And there's usually some form of compression and possibly even distortion put on a lot of these instruments, on top of even natural compression and distortion in the case of the vocals. Everything just ends up feeling very decrepit and gnarly and nasty. Um, and all of the little staticky crackles that come out of both the distortion and the hyper compression just feels like, I don't know, it feels like boiling. It's just it's a disgusting sound in the best kind of way. Um, and a lot of the track feels like that. It's toxic almost. Boiling toxic sludge is what this song reminds me of. But then we get to the end, and the bagpipes have a sharpness to them. They feel metallic, not sharpness in pitch, just a really sharp, pointed tone. And there was one really shrill section. Might have actually been the guitar fading out on a high note, matching the pitch of the bagpipes that did it. I don't know. I just, that man, that sounds. Yes, I don't remember if I physically reacted at all during the reaction, but just on the inside, I was like, make it stop. And just thinking about it now, it's just, don't like that sound. Um, so yeah, everything, even the bagpipes, are given something to twist and distort the original sound into something that is just gnarly. It really is. Um, there was one more thing I want. Oh, yeah. And it's not even just the instruments that are produced this way. I had mentioned that even the song itself felt like it had a staticky crackle to it. It wasn't just an effect placed on the instruments themselves, it's almost like the song itself has a layer of compression put on it as well. So that any sort of hisses or pops or any other sound that might have gotten left in the mix somehow, also it could even just be air, right? Room sounds that for some reason were left in, whether intentionally or not. I'm not going to, this was 1996, so I'm not going to assume anything, but um, I'm not going to sit here and say that an engineer missed room sounds. Especially since this was probably recorded in a treated room on top of that. But it just, even when there's no instruments playing, there's still this gnarly crackle going on that doesn't seem to have a source. It just is. The song itself is festering just as much as the instruments are. It is it is just a disgusting sound from start to finish. And again, I say that in the best way I can. It's what they were going for. It's a compliment. But honestly, that's about all I have to say about it. The music is rather simple. We have a whole 30 to 40 seconds worth of riffs to go on that they stretched out to 12 minutes through a heavy repetition and a minimal amount of sections. And then the production of it all. I do want to give a quick little shout out to the drums, though. I thought these were phenomenal, despite not really having a lot of area to experiment in or to change things up. They still found a way to add variety to the drumming, whether it was just adding a symbol part, changing what symbol you're utilizing, um, adding an extra note here and there, or even at the end, slowly moving from the snare to the snare with a tom roll to pure toms in that final section with the full band before the bagpipes came in. It's always little ways that they found to change things up without accelerating the pacing of the song, without it feeling like the drums are adding momentum, any more momentum than the rest of the instruments have. So I thought it was really nice how the drummers still found ways to be playful with their drumming without sacrificing the artistic vision of the song. Lyrics. And just as, it's not simple, is it? Just as minimalistic as the music is, the lyrics are just as much. We barely get complete sentences. Each line seems to skip around between ideas and sort of a stream of consciousness style of thing going on. But it seems to be about some sort of state of possibly neutrality at birth, seeing and feeling your fate, ascending to godhood, and then being cast back down to, well, it says fall back to stone and spear. Being put back in, at the beginning, basically. And I don't know what it's all supposed to mean. The Genius annotation says it's probably about making the dual choices of one being born in whatever capacity of godship or to mortal suffering. That doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe somebody else can talk to me on that one. I don't see anything in here about duality, though. But there are certainly ideas of being born into a state of, it says you're humbled in the womb. And then we have the idea of descending down the path to ascending to a god, purifying my hells to climb the heavens, sacrifice the flesh, feeding solar visions. But our final stanza says, flames to blades, on earth stabbing, scorched sacred lust, fall back to stone, fall back to spear. I'm going to be honest, most of this, I got nothing on it. But I am picking up these ideas of rising and ascension and being cast back down to the bottom. What it all means in a larger context, I don't know. But the minimalism of the lyrics perfectly matches with the minimalism of the music. And I'd even say that the vocabulary here, how things are described, also match some of that just feeling of the song, the heavy, weighty filthiness of it all. Um, the lyrics, the vocabulary choices are definitely pushing more towards a less, I was gonna say purified. It reminded me that the track is called Purify, but a less clean imagery to it all. I mean, it's not just an all-seeing eye; it's a blazing eye that sees all. You drown in your birth, right? So it's got a very metal element to it, I suppose would be a way to say. I don't know. Those are my thoughts on Purify's Neurosis. Let me know what yours are. Hit me up down in the comments with your thoughts, your opinions, if you enjoyed this or not, anything that stood out to you, your own perspective on things, if you have a read on these lyrics, any of it. Above the comment section is a description box. In there is a link for Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. We have a special selection that just came out if you're watching this live. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.